quietly. You can make your seat comfortable in a chair, on a physio ball, or on the floor. Ellen and I are on our physio balls. Let me just get one eye on the kitten. Figuring that out. You're not going to knock over the lights? Okay. And then you can rest your hands in your lap and let's bring our attention inside. As always, when we start a yoga practice, it's really helpful to orient to the present moment. And that does mean setting aside the past, even the thoughts from this morning, and setting aside the future. Something people tend to find is running in their head as their to-do list, which is a future activity. So you can think of the being list, not the doing list. So to help orient yourself into the present, your senses are great indicators of what's actually happening in the here and now. Just the experience of the senses, not the senses and then our mental narrative about the senses. So you can listen for the sound that's actually happening. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. The sensations of the breath touching the nostrils. Any residue of taste on the tongue. And then more intimate sensation, the feeling of the breath in the abdomen. You don't have to make the breath any bit bigger right now. Just to notice the first couple sensations I mentioned are more external, and then we become more and more internal. Do you notice how the breath is moving in your lower belly right now? Or if it's not moving much at all, then also to notice that. So in our healthy, resting breath cycle, when the breath has a sense of equanimity, when the body is well, when we feel grounded, in that breath cycle, there is a natural cadence where there's a little lull at the end of the exhale. It's called the exhale pause. And there's no particular urgency for the next inhale to come. So in that lull, we can imagine a kind of mental stillness or equanimity. And sometimes in the absence of that lull, we might hypothesize that our minds have been a little bit busy or our bodies have been preoccupied, or how we've perhaps been eating or sleeping, or what we're giving our attention to has shifted our biochemistry and our brain chemistry so that lull at the end of the exhale seems to have disappeared. So we'll check back in the course of the practice and see if that resting spot in the breath cycle feels more accessible. Now you can lengthen up through your spine and deliberately increase your breath cycle for length and depth. You don't have to grasp for a bigger quantity of breath, but you might find that there's a larger inhale and a more complete exhale within your reach. And do that for 3 more breath cycles, please. And then join your hands to your heart. So whatever we've noticed in the first couple of minutes of our time together, our practice, we get to keep noticing. So there's nothing that we're doing that's then like the final outcome. This is who you are. Yoga is actually helping us to release all the thoughts we have about who we are and discover the deepest essence or presence that we actually are. So you are neither someone who breathes really well or doesn't breathe well at all. You aren't a short exhale or a choppy inhale. You might be seeing some of those things. You aren't just a busy mind trying to get the to-do list done. That might be occurring, but there's an essence that is larger than those particular nuances of being human. May we sense that as we practice today. So we'll chant the Gayatri mantra. Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitor Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitor Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata Om Bhurva Suvah Tat Savitor Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. You may bow your head to your heart. Release your hands. Please open your eyes. And we're going to start with the neck and shoulders because it's a great place to begin. If we've been mentally busy, it can help to slow that down. Let me shift back to my chair, which might be occupied by the kittens right now. And I'll ask you to come up to sitting in your chair because we're going to use the chair to help open the upper back, neck and shoulders. Let me just get my microphone as well. That was me, not the kitten, doing that one. I'll get that. Thanks for your patience. Oh, darn. Okay, let me go to my video on my computer because I don't think I can solve this one right now. Let's see. Maybe I can. That wasn't you guys. No, you were being well behaved, actually. All right, we'll go to the computer camera. Yeah, let's see this one here. Okay, there we go. All righty. So for the neck and shoulders experience in yoga, I think a lot of us have neck and shoulder tension that's not just physical. Sometimes it's also mental. And so the process that we're going to go through is to help relieve the mind of that busyness where it goes into the thoughts of past and future. And we can tend to forget that we're more than just the to-do list, that there's a larger presence that we're trying to come back home to. Okay, so when you're sitting, let's do the feet hip distance apart and parallel. I'll put the angle of the camera down slightly here so you can see that better. Oops, too far down. Sorry. We'll go like this. All right. So feet hip distance apart and the thighs and shins can be parallel. And then reach back to hold the legs of the chair or the sides of the chair. Bend your elbows and squeeze your shoulders back. Now, sometimes the shoulders don't move that well and people feel like they need to lift the chin to get the shoulders to move. And I'm going to ask you not to do the chin up, but rather squeeze your shoulders back and bring the chin down. So when you have the shoulders back, lengthen up through the whole spine and snug your chin down and in towards your throat. And then let your awareness come back into the breath. The breath down into your lower belly as much as you're able to. When you're holding the chair with the elbows bent, what you can do is give a little pull on the chair with your fingers to further energize your arms, to strengthen your shoulders. Let's do one more inhale. Lift up through your collarbones, the back of your heart, the base of your skull. And then exhale, relax both arms. And as your arms dangle down, imagine the volume on the mental chatter also going down, as if you were turning the volume on the radio down. Now hold the right side of the chair, the seat of the chair, or if you've got long enough arms, you hold the leg of the chair. It's too low for me to reach, so you hold what you can hold. Roll your right shoulder back, lift your right collarbone up, and tip your left ear towards your left shoulder. And I'm going to ask you to do something sort of isometric. When you have your head tipped down to the left, during the inhale, pull your right shoulder up towards your right ear. It can't actually go because you're holding onto the chair, but give a little snug up. When you exhale, relax the shoulder from that action. And then inhale, pull the right shoulder up towards the ceiling while keeping your head heavy to the left. During the exhale, relax that effort. And then again, inhale, pull up with your right shoulder. And exhale to release it. We'll do it one more time. Inhale to pull up. And exhale to relax that. And then let the right hand dangle as you float your head up to center. And imagine again, turning down the volume knob on the radio of the mind. And hold the seat of the chair with your left hand. Reach up with your collarbones right here in the center. And then tip your right ear towards your right shoulder. And as you tip down, you've got a firm grip with your left hand on the chair. So this pulling up is only isometric. We may not see anything happening. So inhale, pull the left shoulder up. And exhale, relax your left shoulder. We'll do that 3 more times. Breathe in smoothly. Exhale to release it. Some of you might find that your hand can walk further down the chair, but not necessary for that to happen. And release. Okay, one more time, breathing in. And release the action of the left shoulder. Let your head be heavy. Relax your left fingers. And so the left arm can dangle like the curtains on the rods or the bath towel on the bathroom bar. And float your head back up to center. And notice, if you could, imagine turning down the volume knob on the radio of the mind. And now we're going to combine that action of the shoulder pulling up with a rotation of the head. So hold the chair with your right hand, please. Tip your left ear down towards your shoulder. What we're going to do is take the chin towards the shoulder and then bring the head so that the ear is towards the shoulder. So this little movement, we're going to do that smoothly, but in tandem with the action of the shoulder. Okay, so when you pull up with your right shoulder isometrically, keep your chin in towards your throat. And then exhale, relax your right shoulder, rotate your chin to your left. Now inhale, rotate your left ear towards your left shoulder, pull your right shoulder up. And exhale, relax the right shoulder down as you rotate your chin to your left. And rotate your left ear towards your shoulder, pull your right shoulder up. And again, turn your head slowly, relax your right shoulder down. We'll do it one more time. So rotate your ear towards your shoulder, pull the right shoulder up. And then rotate your chin back towards your shoulder. Relax the fingers of your right hand. Float your gaze up to your left and rotate your head back to center. And let's see how is the radio broadcast of the mind. And then hold the chair seat with your left hand and tip your right ear down towards your right shoulder. And just check, the rotation is going to be your chin to your shoulder, your ear to your shoulder. So inhale, pull up with your left shoulder. When you exhale, rotate your chin to the right and relax your left shoulder. Inhale, rotate your right ear to your shoulder, pull your left shoulder up. And exhale to release and rotate. And again, inhale, rotate your ear towards your shoulder, snug your left shoulder up. And last one, rotate your chin towards your shoulder. Release the fingers of your left hand. Lift your gaze to the right, and then bring your head to center. And notice again, if the radio broadcast of the mind might turn down in volume. Okay, let's rise up to standing. We're going to use the upper back of the chair for a few minutes. So I'll turn my chair to show you as a profile. Excuse me. So this is for a pose I like to call chair dog or countertop dog, and also desktop dog. So if you had a desk that was a different height than this, of course you would use your desk for this. But it's a way of not needing to get down to the floor, not always having to have a chair, and just saying you're in the kitchen, you're at your desk, you're at the park, and there's a park bench, and you just need to get the arms and the breath moving. So we're going to place the hands on the upper back of the chair and step backwards like an L shape. And it just happens to be that my height and the height of my chair makes it more of an L. It's possible that you're taller than I am. This is high probability. And if your chair is short like my chair is, it might be helpful to bend your knees so that the hamstrings and the hips are not compromising the length you can have for the spine. It's possible that your kitchen counters are not quite the height of the upper back of the chair, but nor would your desk be, but any variation you can accommodate by having a little bend in the knees where needed. And so lift the base of your skull now so that your head is really resting between your upper arms or a little bit above that. We don't want the head falling down between the arms or for to feel like the head is heavy for the neck right now. Breathe in as you press your hands firmly down against the upper back of the chair. And then continue pressing down and start rolling your spine. If you're doing cat pose, take the tailbone down, roll your spine to bring yourself up, and you gaze towards your two hands and step back towards the chair and let both arms dangle again so you can ask, okay, how's the radio broadcast of the mind? And then without your chair, I'd like you to step to a wall spot where you can take your right hand out at the height of your right shoulder. Face the wall to start so your palm is easy to place and your wrist is straight. And then roll your right shoulder back away from the wall and down away from your ear. And turn your feet first, and then your shins and your knees and your thighs and hips. And to whatever extent your right shoulder lets you, you can also turn your chest and your heart. So in that process, each of you is going to turn a different amount. And that's because your shoulder flexibility, your genetics, your preferred sports and activities, each of you will turn a different amount. So the distance that you turn, you really want the right shoulder to stay back and down. And then to unwind from a pose like this, turn your head and then your chest and shoulders, and then your hips, thighs, knees, and feet. And take the left hand out at shoulder height. Place your palm flat on the wall so your wrist is straight. And then rotate from your feet first, then your shins and knees, then your thighs and hips. When you turn your chest and heart, roll the left shoulder back and down. Breathe into your lower abdomen. And the distance that you rotate from one shoulder to the other might also be different. We do have asymmetrical sports. We are also asymmetrical in that we have one dominant hand. And so it's possible the sensations will be quite different left to right. So breathing in. Then exhale, turn your head first, and then your neck and shoulders, your mid-torso, your hips. Rotate your thighs, knees, and feet. And relax both arms again, so you can just sense, all right, what is the radio broadcast of the mind? How loud is it? What is its pace? What's changing? And then please come back to facing your chair. We're going to take this into the sun salutation. And we'll use the upper back of the chair for this first sun salutation. You can face, yeah, I'll do as a profile. Join your hands to your heart, please. So noticing whatever access you now have to some ease in the neck and shoulders or heart. If you can reflect once more on, you're not the sum total of your thoughts. You're not a passing sensation. You aren't like one body part. You can't be summarized into one moment in time. Each of us is a larger presence. Let's take the next in-breath to move. Inhale, hands down, palms forward, palms up. Raise your arms up. And then exhale, arms wide, and simply bring your fingers to touch the upper back of the chair. Slightly bend both knees and step backwards with your left foot. Take the left foot back and possibly the left heel down, like mine is at the back of my mat. Let's make the right shin vertical, please. Press down against the upper back of the chair with both hands. And that downward action, I want you to lift the heart and your collarbones and the crown of your skull. Now, while keeping the legs steady, what you want to do is press into your left heel, tone the left hip muscles, even on the back side. The butt muscles are not in Shavasana. Lift your pubic bone up, and to the extent that your legs feel stable, and take these hands out to the side, arms out to the side, possibly arms up overhead. If at any point the place that you bring your arms to limits your breathing, then you put the arms back where you feel like you can have a more full experience of the breath. Let's do one more in-breath, please. And then follow your exhale so the arms go wide. You're going to touch the upper back of the chair here for some reassurance, but we're not going to grip the chair. Let's inhale, step the left foot up to meet the right foot. And then take your right toes back, right heel down. Press into your right heel. Tone the back of the right hip so your butt muscles are strong right now. Lift the pubic bone up on the front. And press your fingers down against the upper back of the chair. So this lift in the heart, you initiate it with the fingers pressing down. And if you have your balance, thread the arms out to the side. And really listen for where your breath is the most nourishing. So rather than having sort of like a goal that the arms have to get up overhead to complete the pose, consider a more full breath as a better aim in the pose. One more time, breathing in. And then with your exhale, float your arms out to the side. Whatever distance they went up overhead, bring your hands back down to touch the upper back of the chair. And for some steadiness, but not by any kind of gripping, then inhale your foot forward to stand in mountain pose. You can lightly hold the top of the chair so you're not dizzy or disoriented. Please close your eyes if you'd like. And watch your body breathing you once again. And see if it's possible that when you relax right now, that lull at the end of the exhale is something that you feel like, oh, yeah, that's just happening all on its own. You aren't making it happen. And now we're going to use the beginning of that to step backwards, and we're going to take a second pose in the sequence. So touching the upper back of the chair. Stand tall. Press your fingertips down against the chair here and roll the shoulders back. So there's a kind of a postural inherent uplift to the heart. And then inhale, raise both arms up, going only so far up overhead as you do feel like your breath is able to be full and nourishing. Then exhale, arms wide. Reach up through the crown of your skull. Lightly touch the upper back of the chair. Bend both knees and take your left toes back, left heel down. Press down against the upper back of the chair to lift your heart again. So with the legs established now, shift your hands to your hips. Root your tailbone down. And as you inhale, straighten your right leg. Lift up with your heart, roll your shoulders back. And as you exhale, bend your right knee. So inhale to straighten, and think of this as you straighten your right leg. Think of the upper body as a little bit like a back bend. And then exhale as you bend. Think of the upper body as being more vertical, simply more upright. And one more time, inhale, straighten your front leg, roll your shoulders up and back. And exhale, bend your right knee. Bring the torso just to the upright position. You now sweep the arms out and notice it again, any extra access you have to the breath. And this time what we're going to do is step forward by bringing the arms forward and down, and see if you can step without the chair as an aid. Of course, you can always use it if you need to. And then take your right toes back. Press your fingertips down to help sort of catalyze the lift of the heart. And then hands to your hips. So this is a movement that's paced with the breath. When you inhale, straighten your left leg and lift the heart up and back, like a standing back bend. And as you exhale, bend your left knee and let the torso simply be more upright. Twice more, please. And you follow your breath cycle here. So not the pace that is mine, but the pace that is uniquely yours. And as you find yourself here, the legs are in the pose we call warrior one. Let's see about raising the arms, any amount where you feel like you have a full sense of the breath. And then with an exhale, press into your left heel, float your arms forward and down, and float your right foot forward to meet your left. You can use the chair if you'd like. Momentarily close your eyes, so you can orient with your hands on the chair if you need to. And see if you could sense, is there a kind of naturalness to the exhale, going into a little lull, no sense of grasping for your inhale. Okay, so something you might have experienced there was a sensation on the hip flexors. For lots of us, we don't have really flexible hip flexors because we spend a lot of time sitting. Or if you've been someone you do a lot of hiking or biking or even just walking or running, the hip flexors tend to be a little bit tight. So we're going to focus on that right now. I'm going to sit on the side of my chair facing you. And I'd like you to do the same and have your right thigh on the chair. Yeah. Now, depending on your height, the length of your thigh bone, the height of your chair, what you're going to need on the floor here for your left knee is going to be different than what I need. So if I put this one block flat next to my chair, I want to step the left knee down and to have the right thigh completely supported. So this position, I sometimes call this proposal pose, like when the prince was going to propose to the princess. So what I want you to check is that your hips actually are level. So a couple things to consider. If the block is too tall for you, so you end up leaning over here, it's helpful to put a blanket on the chair seat. Since the block is one dimension, but the blanket is something that you can make some changes to, like how thick is it folded. What you can do is put the blanket, and then the block might not seem so tall to you. Or you have a very long thigh and you have a short chair, and instead of a block, you put a blanket on the floor. The idea is that you don't want your hips to be crooked here, left to right. Good. Now let's take the tailbone down, lift the inner belly up, and press your left thigh into whatever support you placed there, the block or the blanket. So you're actively pressing down. And squeeze the left butt muscles on the back. So the back of the hip joint is toned right now. You raise your left arm up. And make a little side bend to your right. While keeping all of the other ingredients consistent. So the left thigh and the left knee keep pushing down. Keep the back of your left butt toned. Look for the fullness of the breath that is yours. Having some adventures, kitty adventures. Okay, and then with your exhale, take the left arm and lower that down. And pause for a moment. Swing your left thigh up to meet your right thigh. Even though you're sitting sideways on your chair, go ahead and sit for a moment there. Just check and see. Okay, what's the echo from that? Okay. And then walk yourself about to the other side. What I'll do is turn my chair so you see the other view. So I'll be sitting on my other hip. Let me figure out which one that is now. Isn't that funny? Oh, a funny, peculiar, not funny, humorous. Okay. Yeah. So then you're going to step back, place your knee down firmly. And I do want that to be firm so that you don't feel like you're falling to the block and you don't feel like the chair's too tall or the block's too short. Press down from your inner belly into your knee on whatever support you gave yourself there and tone the back of your hip. And raise your arm up alongside your ear. Just add a little side bend, keeping all of the other components of your pose really stable. What you need here for stability is really on behalf of, like, the deepest tension in the body doesn't know that it can release if we're unstable in a yoga pose. The outside tension or the outer muscles may have some releasing, but the innermost held tension is waiting for us to be stable enough, to be breathable enough. Now, as you exhale, begin to raise your torso and your lifted arm back up, and then lower your arm down. And this time you can turn to go center on your chair, like where we began. And let's just check and see now. If you really relax and you watch the breath for a few moments, don't make the breath. Just watch and see if it comes back to the exhale pause is more and more familiar and natural. And the radio broadcast of the mind can slow down and get less and less in volume. Now what we're going to do is put a block on the side of your chair for your foot to go on. This is particularly if you're not tall. Some of you are not going to need this block. It's based on the height of your chair and the height of your legs. Let me get my blanket smoothed out here. I have a little lump in my blanket. So what I'm going to be asking you to do is to place one leg to the side. So I'd like you to sit on the chair so you feel stable, and you're probably a little bit to the left side of the chair, and place your right leg like this. So for me, without a block, my foot dangles a little bit. With the block, my knee is a little bit higher than my hip is. So then I want to make my blanket one fold taller so that this is more level rather than having the knee up and the hip down. So you take the same blanket, fold it in half. And then when you sit on your chair, you want your thigh to be just about level. So if you're a taller person, you might have your foot on the floor, not needing a block there. Or the chair might be too short for you. Your foot easily reaches the floor, but your knee is quite a bit higher than your hip, in which case you might need more than one blanket. Okay, so press your right knee out. This is like this pose we call in Yoga Warrior 2. What we're doing is stretching the right inner thigh. Take the back of your right hand against your right knee and lift up through the inner body. Okay, and then raise your left arm. You're doing well. And you can slide slightly down. And the idea is that your right arm is going to keep pressing your right knee open. Do keep both hips on the blanket of the chair, please. When you're pressing your right arm back into your right leg there, you can also think about taking the right shoulder back like we were doing in the beginning of class, so that you're able to rotate your head with your head, not with your shoulder. And keep the right inner thigh long as you press into your right knee. And then raise your torso and your left arm. Keep pressing the right knee open as you lower your left arm down. Okay, now we're going to see if you can step this foot into what is sometimes called Warrior 2. And the reason I'm going to say we're seeing if we can do it is because it's actually kind of an awkward position. So what you want to do is step the left foot back out to the side. Now here's a couple of very important considerations. I'm not that tall, and this is awkward for my hips to be in because my pelvis has gotten tipped to the right. So I need another blanket under my hips. And that might be the case for you also. So you have to go by some experimentation. In this case, I'll get the blanket that the cat is not standing on. So it's not just the height of you and the height of the chair, it's also the shape of your hip joints. So for me, because my right hip is a metal hip, it's a replaced hip, the shape of that hip joint is really different than my left hip. So what I do is now the right hip, this is my right hip, even though I'm calling it my left leg during class. This is the hip that has the apparatus. Okay. So now when I step into Warrior 2 here, I'm much more supported. My hips can be upright and the right leg understands where we're going and the left leg is not panicked, which is actually my right leg, but for you guys, it's my left leg, just for you. So now I'd like you to press the right knee open and really keep the inner thigh in your awareness. Place your hands at the top of your thigh bones and press down against both of them to lift the inner body up. Your right heel should feel firm against the block, like you're actually making a footprint there, or if you're using the floor, firm against the floor. And now slide your right hand down. So that is kind of like Warrior 2. Now we're going to take it like side angle pose. Press your right arm against your right leg. You can also hold the leg of the chair right there. And sweep your left arm past your left ear. So the efforts that you're making, which are yours and yours alone, mine are different, they should all be breathable efforts. So check that the inner right thigh is still long. And from your left heel to your left fingers, you can get a good strong reach. Even if your arm is not as far overhead as mine is. And we're going to exhale. Use the belly muscles to bring yourself upright. And release your left leg first, then release your right leg. Now I have the feeling of sitting up as a child on the phone book, to sit at the table. I know some of you are not much taller than I am. Okay, so we're going to go to the other side, doing the first pose first. So I only had one blanket for that one, so I'm going to go down to one blanket and one block. Okay, so sit to the right side of your chair a little bit and take your left foot up and over. And lengthen right through here. This, yeah. And take the back of your left hand to support that action. Lift up through the inner body. Yep, and then as you're gliding down, keep the left knee pressed open. And you may raise your right arm up alongside your ear. With your right hip being heavy on the chair, it's possible that you're going to feel your right lower back right now. For those of you who are concerned about me, I have trimmed their nails. I trim them regularly. They're actually very relaxed about it because I started doing it when they were a tiny bit younger. And bring yourself back upright. Okay, now we're going to try out the warrior two. And so I found out on my first side that I needed 2 blankets on my block, and you may have some other figurines that you've had. So let's get that set up. Now, it might be that it would be different for me left to right because I have one hip replacement and one regular hip. What I'm going to do is match the quote-unquote limited side. That is, I'm going to match my biological side to my bionic side. So you take the left foot up and step the right leg back. Height of the booster seat that you set up, that's pretty important. One of the things I've had trouble with in the yoga industry is a lot of people are teaching chair yoga, and you see the warrior two done only with the chair with students of all different heights. And I see a lot of pelvic and sacral distortions when I look at those photographs. So I want you to really take care here that what you set up is good for your body. Take your hands to the tops of the thighs and press down so the inner body can be going up. And you do have to keep some action with the left leg, so press your left heel down. I want you to feel the muscles are toned in your left hip. They're not just hammocking there onto the blanket. Come down. You might choose to hold the leg of the chair with your hand. And sweep your arm past your ear. And breathing in and breathing out. Make every choice for the physical pose breathable. And then keeping the left knee pressed open, left heel pressing down. You can use your abdominal muscles to bring yourself upright. And then sitting again on your booster seat. My feet don't reach the floor when I'm on the booster seat. And just notice again what is happening with the radio volume of the mind. And with your exhale pause. going to take this chair, and we have the 2 blankets. I have my 2 blankets anyhow. I hope that you have a couple blankets there within reach. You don't need the box. Since we have the blankets folded like this, we actually can use them in this configuration. So we're going to place both blankets for the hips. This is called the waterfall pose. So we're going to be resting in this one. We want everything to sort of settle into some quiet. The first pose we'll do is to give one more opening to the inner thighs, and then we'll take the legs over the chair seat. So you can place your hips, roll onto your back. I'd like the top of the blankets to be not higher than the top of your sacrum. I'll do this. And then what I'd like you to do to start here, before we take the legs over to Shavasana, just test drive that you're going to have the right setup between your feet and your chair. And then bring your feet into Baddha Konasana. Baddha Konasana right now, called bound angle pose in English. This is to help release the upper inner thighs a bit more. Also a way to welcome the breath to come back into the deep part of your belly. And then just really thoughtfully now, bring your knees to center and take your feet and shins and knees of thighs up over the chair for resting. You can put your feet through the back of the chair if you prefer, or you can put them, as I did, on the upper back of the chair where you tip it slightly. And then close your eyes and let your body have this as a really nourishing medicinal time. Allow the whole body to become very still and heavy with relaxation. And also remind yourself that the deepest held tension in your body is waiting for you to be stable enough, supported enough, mentally and physically. And then it has a sense it can let go. So give yourself right now this inner sense of stillness, support, safety. Welcome your mind to rest. It's inside the stillness of your body. So even if distractions arise, you can gently coax your mind back. You may notice that if thoughts do come or distractions arise, you can see the signal of that in the quality of ease in your eyes or your tongue, or a change in the breath cycle. You can also encourage a deeper mental rest by relaxing your eyes, softening your tongue, and releasing any unnecessary tension in the belly. And that allows the breath to flow more easily once again. So allow your body to get a few degrees heavier, more limp, with ease and relaxation. And invite your mind to follow that invitation for ease. As you need to at any one moment, you can return to relaxing your eyes, gently softening the tongue, and allow your breath to return into the abdomen by releasing whatever unnecessary tension may be there. We're going to rest for just about 1 more minute, so allow it to be deeper yet in terms of stillness for your mind and your body. And just becoming aware in the stillness of the body and the mind, let's put attention back on the breath, particularly noticing what happens with the exhale, resting into the exhale pause. It's possible that your exhale pause is something very natural right now. And then with an awareness of that, you can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes and make a personal transition to roll to one side. And to use both hands to return to sitting. As you rise up to sit, you can use your chair or the blankets on the floor, whatever you prefer. And join your hands together at your heart. And we'll chant Om Shanti together. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. I will come up closer so I can see you, see how you're doing. You're attacking her, so I'll leave her with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how are you? You got some rest in spite of kittens wrestling on me?